All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. It's Talking with Derek Vandygriff. We've had a little bit of a long weekend and a long week, and it's only going to get longer, right, Derek?
Yeah, we still got a few more days of this. It seems like, between the whole Twitter fiasco on Monday night with the Sokolov report, and then Lane just basically burying there for a couple hours on Twitter. It's going to be interesting to see how it all works out.
Yeah, the problem I have with Lane Kiffin in that situation is for somebody that was so against answering any question about taking the Auburn, it was you doth protest too much in that situation. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you sit there and preach, for the last 2-3 weeks, whatever it's been, pro mindset, we don't talk about that kind of thing. It's all business here. On to the next game. This, that, and the other. Our players don't see it. They don't think about it. No, we don't talk about it with them. And then he gets on Twitter and goes on this huge rant because somebody reported that he actually was leaving.
Yeah. And also, apparently today, Jonathan Hess put out a tweet that says he was staying, but that's not what Lane Kiffin said. Chuck Rounsville at On3 reported almost immedately. He's like, no, Lane said he hasn't signed a contract, and if he did, he'd let him know. But he didn't say he was staying. And this is turning into a he said, she said. This is just turned into a mess, Derek.
Yeah, it is. It's quite a roller coaster, right? You see that from Jonathan Hess, a player on the team. You think, all right, well, maybe there is something to him actually staying. You kind of want to keep that little bit of optimism in the back of your mind, or most people want to do before Monday night at least. I think a lot of people are kind of over it at this point, but to see that and then immediately the report come out, it's like, well, it's not really what he said. He said that he hasn't talked to anybody about a job, but if it changed, he would let them know so they didn't find out in the media. And so it's just one thing right after another, back and forth. Disputing report, and just depends who you listen to at this point.
Yeah, and if you go over to the Locked On Auburn page, which I would recommend you doing, but today's show might be a little bit raw for everybody, they actually ponder on there. There's a segment that they're talking about it where they were worried during the Walk of Champions that we would two-face Lane Kiffin, like throw acid in his face or something like it. Was absolutely weird. Yeah, absolutely weird stuff. And I don't know where that's coming from, but I mean, I guess we can understand a little. I don't understand. That was such a weird thing to hear.
Yeah, man. This sport of college football is something else, right? I mean, the things that people come up with and the things that they say. I'm about as big of a diehard Ole Miss football fan as they come. Been going to games with my dad and brother for 29 years now, and something like that's never crossed my mind. I mean, the most egregious thing that I've thought of since all this started was whether or not Lane Kiffin's going to get booed when he's announced on Thursday night as the coach at Ole Miss during the Egg Bowl.
Honestly, he probably should.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, if I was going, I probably would. I'm kind of fed up with all of this. And if he stays, great. I mean, winning cures all, obviously, but I
don't know if I'd say that. Ended. On Tuesday, if he would have kept winning, he everything would have been, or Monday or before all of this happened, if he would have won, he could have been. Now it's going to take a little bit more than just winning, because you have a fan base that I would honestly say, if you look on Twitter, is 85 to 90% against him.
Yeah, they are right now.
Yeah.
That's the thing, but that can change if he comes out and signs a contract extension, and gets stuff set up for next year, brings our players back, and all that stuff that everybody's talking about.
He still has to do a mea culpa tour. He's going to have to glad hand. He's going to have to get on the Rebel road trip if he stayed at Ole Miss. Yeah, I mean, all of that would be something that he has to do that maybe if he wouldn't have done this, he wouldn't have had to do it. And it'll be interesting to see how this moves forward. Now, Ole Miss has a post-Lane Kiffin brand. Let's just for a second pretend that he goes to Auburn and just move forward November 30th, and talking about that. What does a post-Lane Kiffin Ole Miss look like?
Well, look, if Lane ends up going to Auburn or somewhere else down the road, one thing that you can't argue is that Ole Miss is in a better position now than it was when Lane Kiffin got here. You know, he really has done a good job in so far 3 years as head coach. You know, he's built us into this big brand now. You know, we're nationally recognized, and you know, it's obvious from our administration that we're willing to invest in that. You know, if the reports are true with the contract that we offered him, a base salary around 9.5, 9.6. By the time you get done with incentives, because if you're paying a coach that much money, you're going to hit your incentives or it's going to be an epic failure anyway. You're talking about $10+ million a year. And then on top of that, the NIL money we've raised. And, you know, it's kind of weird that Kiffin kind of goes out and helps us raise all that money just to bolt to another school, right? But that's one thing that's out there too, though. You know, we've got.
I don't think he helped us raise that money. That I'm going to stop you right there. I think everybody assumed that was done, and they took that upon themselves. I don't think Lane Kiffin did that, but this is a monster that he created in September, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but I think more the way I look at it is the way he helped raise the money is because of all these rumors. Everybody's wanting to show that they're going to, you know, invest in the NIL because of the reports that were out there that Ole Miss was behind in it and they need to get money together for players and all that. You know, I think that's why a lot of people started joining here in the last few weeks. And, you know, obviously Walker Jones and those guys have done a really good job with it. You know, all the credit goes to them as far as doing it. But Lane definitely had a part in it, I think, because of all the rumors swirling around. But either way, when you take the salary that we're willing to pay a head coach, the NIL money that we've raised, I mean, we should be a very, very attractive job. I mean, look, we're, what is it, third or fourth in the SEC in wins in the last 2 years. You know, this is the most dominant conference in America, right? And we're showing games in this conference and that we're willing to invest in that program for any head coach that comes along. Now, are we going to go pay $9.5 million to whoever the next guy is if Lane Kiffin leaves? I don't know. You know, it kind of depends what his pedigree is, you know, and what the market value for him would be. But it shows you that if you come in, you put in the work, you've got a good base of players, you've got money to not only keep those players, but go get more players to fill in around them, and a fan base and administration that's willing to give you any sort of resources and money that you need to keep it going at a really, really high level.
All right. Well, which direction would you look for? If we were going to do a Derek Vandygriff hot board, who would be 3 names on that list?
All right. The Derek Vandygriff hot board. This will be I'm sure Keith Carter is racing to this video right now to figure out what I'm going to say.
Same with me. Although, by the way, I put out my hot board and somebody below it just replied back with a 6 and put my name on there. It's like, you don't want me to be the head coach. I'm just hot airing opinions.
Yeah, that's right. Look, you've got to swing for the fences, I think. I think first you got to sit there and go for sitting Power 5 coaches in no particular order. Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. There's been whispers of some kind of friction between him and that administration. However true that is, obviously, I don't know. I don't follow Oklahoma State that closely. But obviously he's done a heck of a job. He's run a program that's right there with Ole Miss as far as number of wins over the last couple of years in Power 5. You know, they've done a really good job over there. I would think that he would be interested in jumping from the Big 12 to the SEC and with the current state of college football and conference realignment and all that stuff. But because you don't know what the future of the Big 12 is, you know, obviously with the expanded playoff and all that, there's probably going to be a spot for them. But, you know, how high can you get in that college football playoff, though? You know, you want the easiest road possible. Obviously, if you get to the SEC, you build a winner and you're able to win the conference, you're getting that first round bye, and that's one less game you're going to have to play. So that's one advantage to playing in the SEC, and we don't know how that would be in the Big 12 right now. I've heard from a few people, you know, that James Franklin would be interested, and I don't know how true that is. But look, it's a guy that's coached in the SEC, and not only did he coach in the SEC, he coached at Vanderbilt, and not only did he coach at Vanderbilt, he won at Vanderbilt. How many
back-to-back non-win seasons?
Yeah, I know. You know, and you know that classic game that Ole Miss played in Nashville against them when Franklin was there. You know, when Jeff Scott broke that big run really, really good teams up there at Vanderbilt. He's had some good teams up at Penn State too, but maybe he would be interested in coming back to the SEC. And, that's obviously we can pay a lot of money if that's what it comes to, but it's something he's familiar with. He's familiar with the area, obviously familiar with the conference, just a separate division. So that's another name. Let me see. Number 3. I'm not sure how crazy I am about it, but there's been a lot of talk about Prime, right? I mean, what he's done down there at Jackson State, and look, it's incredible what he's done down there. He's pulling, some of the top players in the country to come play in the SWAC at Jackson State, and of course he's running through them down there. Just how athlete and people. My question would be is when he got here. Obviously, he'd be able to get the athletes. He would have more resources to do so. So you would think we would have tons of players. How would they be able to turn that to a product on the field that would win in this conference? Obviously, you would probably look at up in the assistant pool, right? That'd be one thing that would be big for him. Give him plenty of money to go out there and fill out this really good staff around him to kind of help manage all of these duties and help with the coaching on both sides of the ball. But as far as a leader of a program and what he can bring to your school, he's obviously he immediately grabs the national attention. Deion Sanders at an SEC school, right? And then with all the players, you're going to be able to get into any living room you want to. And look, he's a heck of a salesman when he gets in there. Like I said, he got the number 1 player in the country to come play for Jackson State. And you can't really even overlook the outside of the Ole Miss NIL money, what about the Barstool NIL money? If there's a little bit there for him to get maybe 1 or 2 players, there's no doubt he could get the players, but I think we'd have to give him enough money to surround himself with the right people to help run the program.
The one problem you're going to have with Deion Sanders is he's an Under Armour guy to the point where Jackson State had to change from Nike to Under Armour. So would he go to a Nike school? So that is something that is a little bit in the air there. And also on the James Franklin stuff, the elephant in the room on him is just he was in Jamaica when all of that went down. I was in his TV station in Nashville. He was in Jamaica and had to come back to deal with it. So the stuff that happened in the immediate aftermath, not him. So that's the reason he's coaching at Penn State right now, honestly, because if he had done what he's rumored to done, he's not coaching football right now, especially not at Penn State after what they went through.
Exactly.
So let's turn our attention real quick to the Egg Bowl, Derek. Not too much. What do you expect in this game, and give me a prediction for it?
Man, it's kind of hard to know what to expect after watching last Saturday, right? You kind of wonder how locked in not only the players, but quite frankly our coach is for this game. Hopefully they're locked in. There's guys out there that's going to be playing their last regular season collegiate game. It's not going to get that shot at the NFL or anywhere else, and they've done a lot for this program. So, you hope for them that they're able to go out on top, win a 3rd straight Egg Bowl. There's obviously Mississippi kids on that roster that want this game really badly. And, hopefully Lane wants it too. I would hate to think that if he is on his way out, he doesn't want to go out losing his last 2 games. So, but, it's going to be the same formula we talk about. You're going to see a whole bunch of Quinshon Judkins and, Zach Evans too. He had a heck of a game Saturday. We haven't talked about that, me and you hadn't on here, the Arkansas game, but they just sat there and just ran all over them, just couldn't get it in the end zone early enough. And but there's a chance Zach Evans gets to that 1,000-yard mark. So we have 2 1,000-yard rushers on this team, which would be a heck of an accomplishment, obviously. And it's kind of that same formula: sit there and run the ball and just pray to God we can tackle this week, because it seems to be a week-to-week thing right now.
Yeah, seriously. What's the prediction you have for this game?
Oh man, give me Ole Miss 35-31.
Ooh, okay. Going with an offensive shootout. Now it's supposed to rain all day Thursday.
Yeah, I know, but there's with with us and our ground game, that's just kind of what we're going to do. We're going to sit there and just kind of run it no matter the weather. And quite frankly, I'm not too sure we're going to be able to tackle them whenever they do run all those different little mesh routes and crosses and all that gets to the middle of the defense and all. So, I could see this getting on up there.
Yeah, this could be a game where an 8-3 team in Ole Miss, when something bad happens, they lay down and they look like a 3-8 team. Picture that Louisiana Tech game from 2011.
Yeah, 11. That's what it was. Yeah, that was pretty disappointing. I was in the stands for that one too.
Yeah. So anyway, Derek, thank you very much for stopping by, and thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. It's Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Derek, thank you very much for stopping by. Next week, we'll regroup and figure out what's going on, bud.
Yeah, we sure will, man. I appreciate it. Hi, Toddy.
Howdy, Toddy.